My hand trembled over the mouse, so hard that the cursor wiggled on the screen. My apartment was dark except for the glow of my laptop. On one side of the screen was the wedding website for Kaylin and Talia. It was filled with smiling photos of them. His arm wrapped around my ex-best friend, her head resting on his shoulder. On the other side of the screen was an email ready to go. The address was genevieve@steclairevents.com. The subject line, urgent, Kaylin and Talia's wedding. Attached was one single, simple file. Final Somas MP3. A hot tear rolled down my cheek as a memory of that file played in my head. It was Kaylin's voice, just last week, smooth and convincing. Talia's a necessity, Zahra. He had whispered to me. A bridge. Her father's company needs me. This wedding. It's just a signature. You're the one I love. He thought I was weak. He thought I would wait for him. He thought I was a fool. My eyes hardened. I wasn't a fool. I was a weapon. I took a deep breath, held it, and clicked the send button. The message sent confirmation popped up, and I let out the breath I was holding. It felt like I had just dropped a bomb. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding in my ears. Less than 30 seconds later, my phone pinged. It was an email notification. Read receipt. Genevieve had opened the file. 30 seconds after that, my phone rang. The caller ID was St. Clair Events. If you've ever been betrayed so badly you wanted to burn the world down, you know exactly why I answered that call. I swiped to answer, my thumb shaking. I put the phone on speaker, my voice caught in my throat. Hello, I managed to say. This is Zahra Evans. For a moment there was only silence. Then a voice as cold and crisp as ice came through the speaker. Ms. Evans. This is Genevieve St. Clair. I have listened to the first 60 seconds of your audio file. I held my breath. I could hear the expensive click of a pen in the background. This is a very serious allegation, she said. Her voice was not kind. It was not angry. It was professional, and that was almost scarier. It's not an allegation, I said, my voice suddenly finding its strength. It's the truth. You are planning a wedding that is a lie. He is conning Talia's family, and he has been gaslighting me for months. That file is all the proof you need. There was another long pause. I could hear her typing. What he says in that file, Genevieve said slowly, is a direct breach of the morality clause in my contract. I can walk away from this right now. But I am not paid to listen to rumors. I need to know exactly who you are. I was about to tell her, but she cut me off. And, she added, her voice even colder and sharper, I need to know why Talia's father just put a stop payment on my latest 6-figure invoice. It seems my client is having money problems I was not told about. I was still reeling from that last sentence. A stop payment. Talia's family was one of the richest in the state. Before I could even process what that meant, my phone buzzed with another call. I looked down. My blood ran cold. The caller ID was Corinne Volkov, Talia's mother. I quickly hung up on Genevieve and, with a shaking hand, answered the new call. Hello. I stuttered. Zahra, darling. Corinne's voice was like warm, sticky honey. It was the voice that used to praise me when Talia and I were girls. The voice that always made me feel welcome in their giant home. It was a voice I used to trust. I know things have been difficult between you and Talia. Just so tragic. But you two were sisters once. I stayed silent, my stomach twisting. I knew this wasn't a friendly call. I have a wonderful idea, she continued. Talia's bridal shower is this Saturday. I want you to come. As a surprise. It would just mean the world to her. It would show everyone that you've moved on and there are no hard feelings. Felt sick. It was a trap. They didn't want my forgiveness. They wanted to use me. They wanted to parade me around as the supportive ex-friend, to prove to everyone that Kaylin was a good guy. They wanted me to be a prop in their perfect wedding. Oh, darling, I have to run, she said. But I'm texting you the invitation right now. My phone pinged with a text. It was a digital invitation. The theme, written in gold script, was New Beginnings. I stared at the invitation on my phone for a long time. New beginnings. Felt like a slap in the face. My world had just ended and they were celebrating. I didn't know what to do. If I went, I would be walking into a den of lions. If I didn't go, they would paint me as the bitter ex, the one who couldn't let go. I was trapped. I was about to throw my phone across the room when a new email notification popped up. It wasn't from Genevieve. The sender was one I didn't recognize. Oracle at Proton.me. The subject line was just one word. Listen. Opened it. The message was short, just a few sentences. He's lying to you. He's lying to her. But most of all, he's lying to her father. You sent the right file, but you don't have the whole story. Ask your new planner friend about the Onyx vendor account. My heart skipped a beat. Who was this? How did they know I had sent a file? How did they know about Genevieve? A new player had just entered the game, someone who was also watching Kaylin. The email was a warning, but it was also a key. It was a thread. I didn't know who this Oracle was, but they had just given me my next move. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was curious. And that was a much more dangerous feeling. I picked up my phone and dialed Genevieve's number again. Genevieve answered on the first ring. Ms. Evans. I was expecting your call. Her voice was still icy, but I heard something else in it now. A flicker of interest. I'm not going to the shower, I said, my voice flat. At least I don't know yet. But you and I need to talk. Your stop payment problem and my file. I think they're connected. Go on, she said. I got a tip, I said, my heart pounding. I was trusting a stranger, but I had no other choice. You need to look up a vendor. The Onyx vendor account. There was a long silence on the other end. So long I thought she had hung up. All I heard was the sound of furious typing. How? She finally said, and her voice was no longer icy. It was sharp. How do you know about that? So it's real, I breathed. The Onyx account is the only one my firm doesn't directly control, she said, thinking out loud. It was set up for all the floral and design imports. Kaylin handled it personally. Said it was a special arrangement with an overseas supplier. The payments. My God. What? I demanded. What about the payments? They're not coming from Mr. Volkov's bank, she said, her voice a low whisper. They're being paid by a separate, untraceable crypto wallet. Not by Kaylin. Not by Talia's father. It's a ghost. What does it mean? Asked. It means, Genevieve said, that someone is laundering money through this wedding. And the first deposit. Oh my God. What? The first deposit, she said, was made 6 months ago. Before Kaylin and Talia were even officially engaged. I knew what I had to do. I was going to that shower. I spent the next 2 days preparing. I didn't just pick out a dress. I picked out armor. When I walked into that grand, sun-filled room at the country club, the music stopped. Every woman there, all of Corinne's friends and Talia's new circle, turned to stare at me. I saw Corinne near the gift table, her fake smile freezing on her face. Then I saw Talia. She looked beautiful in a white dress, but her eyes were wide with a mix of shock and fear. I smiled a tight, small smile and walked straight toward her. I was holding a heavy, beautifully wrapped silver box. Zahra, Talia breathed, her voice barely a whisper. What are you doing here? Your mother invited me, I said, loud enough for the people nearby to hear. I couldn't miss this, Talia. I'm so happy for you. Held out the box. I just wanted to give you this. She stared at the gift, her hands shaking slightly. It's a digital frame, I said, my voice sweet and low, just for her. You know, so you can display all your favorite memories. I even preloaded it. With all of my favorites. Her face went completely white. She knew. She knew I didn't just have one audio file. She knew I had everything. The texts, the screenshots, the other recordings. The power in that room, which had been so firmly on her side, just tilted. It was like I had just pulled the pin on a grenade and handed it to her. Talia grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Her fake smile was plastered on for the guests. "Zahra, you have to see the gardens," she hissed, and then dragged me through a side door into a small, empty butler's pantry. The second the door swung shut, she let go of me and her face changed from fear to rage. "What are you doing?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "How dare you come here and threaten me?" "Threaten you?" I almost laughed. "Talia, he is the threat. He's lying to you. He's using you." "You're lying," she shot back. "You're just jealous. He told me you would be. He told me you were obsessed with him and that you might try to ruin this. He loves me. He loves you," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "He told you that. Then you should listen to this." Pulled out my phone. This wasn't the file I sent to Genevieve. This was a different one. Press play. It was audio from a year ago, from Kaylin's birthday party. He was drunk, talking to his friends, and he didn't know I was in the next room. His voice filled the pantry, slurred and arrogant. "Talia's family is my in," he bragged. "Her father's firm is desperate for my Atlas algorithm. He thinks it's his only way to stay solvent. He'll give me anything, including his daughter." I watched Talia's face. I expected her to cry. I expected her to be broken. Instead, her eyes filled with a strange, cold anger I had never seen before. She whispered, "He told me my father's company was fine, and I was the one who needed to marry him. To save my reputation." I left the shower right after that. I didn't know what to think. Talia hadn't just been lied to. She had been given a completely different lie. My phone buzzed as I got into my car. It was another email from Oracle. "Good show at the shower," it read. "You've got her attention. Now it's time for you to learn the truth. Bastille. 4 p.m. Come alone." My heart was pounding. This was a bad idea. Meeting an anonymous source. But I had to know. I had to know who this person was. At 4 o'clock, I walked into the cafe. I scanned the room and my heart stopped. Sitting in a corner booth, staring right at me, was Reese, Kaylin's old business partner. The man Kaylin had cheated and pushed out of their startup 2 years ago. "Zahra," he said, not standing up. "You're Oracle," I whispered, sliding into the booth. "Kaylin didn't just steal my company," Reese said, his hands tight around his coffee cup. "He stole my life's work. The Atlas algorithm. It's mine. He used my code to lure in Talia's father, promising it would save his failing company. So the audio file I have." "It's true," I said. "It's worse," Reese said. "He's not just marrying Talia to get the company. He's already stealing from it. That Onyx vendor you found. That crypto wallet. It's how he's been paying himself millions in consulting fees from her father's company, disguised as wedding expenses." He leaned in, his eyes dark with anger. "The Onyx vendor is Kaylin. He's robbing them blind before he even says, 'I do.'" My head was spinning. This was so much bigger than a cheating ex-boyfriend. This was million-dollar fraud. "We have to tell Talia," I said, standing up. "We have to tell her father." "Sit down," Reese said, his voice hard. "You think I haven't tried? Volkov trusts Kaylin. He thinks I'm the one who's bitter. And Talia." He just shook his head. Later that night I got a request for a secure video call. It was from Genevieve, the planner. When I joined, my face popped up on the screen next to 2 others. Genevieve looking stressed and Reese looking grim. "All right, Oracle," Genevieve said to Reese. "Zahra has looped me in. You were right about the Onyx account. He's a thief. He's not just planning a wedding. He's staging a corporate takeover. That audio file you sent, Zahra," she continued. "It's my legal exit. My morality clause is clear. I can walk away from this mess right now." "But we can't," I insisted. "We have to stop him." "It's not that simple," Genevieve said. She shared her screen. My heart sank. On the screen were invoices. Invoices for the onyx vendor, for huge, ridiculous amounts. Look closer, Genevieve said. I did. At the bottom of every single fraudulent invoice was a signature. Approved by Talia Volkov. My God, I whispered. She's in on it. She's helping him. It appears, Ms. Evans, Genevieve said, her voice heavy, that your ex-best friend isn't a victim. She's his partner. I couldn't believe it. I wouldn't. Talia, I knew. She was weak, maybe. She was selfish sometimes. But she wasn't a criminal. She wouldn't steal from her own father. Had to know why. I drove to her apartment, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I buzzed her, and she let me in without a word. Her apartment was dark, and a half-packed suitcase was open on her bed. You're running, I whispered. You're running with him. What do you want, Zahra? She said, her voice dead. I saw the invoices, Talia, I said, my voice breaking. The Onyx account. You knew. You're helping him steal from your own family. After everything. How could you? I expected her to yell, to deny it. Instead, she just broke. She collapsed onto her bed, her face in her hands, and let out a sob that was so full of pain it scared me. I have to, she cried, her voice muffled. He knows. He knows about Zurich. Zurich? Yes. What? What's in Zurich? She looked up at me, her face pale and streaked with tears. Last year, she whispered. After we stopped being friends, I had a breakdown. Bad one. My parents. They sent me to a private clinic in Zurich. For my exhaustion. I remembered. She had just disappeared for 2 months. He has my records, she choked out. Kalen found them. He's blackmailing me. He told me if I didn't sign off on the invoices, if I didn't do everything he said, he would tell my father I was unstable, that I wasn't fit to inherit the company. He's going to ruin me, Zahra. He's going to destroy me. I stared at her, and all the anger I had felt for the past year just evaporated. She wasn't my enemy. She was his other victim. My revenge against Kalen wasn't just about my broken heart anymore. It was about saving Talia from a monster. I left her apartment and immediately set up another call with Reese and Genevieve. I told them everything. About the blackmail. About the clinic. About how Kalen had her trapped. Genevieve was quiet for a long time. This changes things, she said finally. This is no longer a simple breach of contract. This is coercion. This is extortion. So what do we do? I asked, my voice shaking. We stop him, Reese said, his voice cold and hard. I've been waiting 2 years for this. I have the original source code for Atlas. I can prove in court that his entire company is built on my work. And I, Genevieve said, a small, dangerous smile on her face, have the fraudulent invoices, the ones Talia was forced to sign. And I have the wire transfers from the Onyx account to Kalen's private, offshore bank. And I said, feeling a new strength, have the audio. I have the motive. Reese nodded. We have the motive, the method, and the monster. The rehearsal dinner is in 2 days, Genevieve said. All the investors, all the partners, and all the family will be in one room. Plan began to form. Terrible, perfect plan. We weren't just going to stop the wedding. We were going to give them a show they would never forget. The rehearsal dinner was held in the grand ballroom of the St. Regis Hotel. The room was dripping with flowers and crystal. Smelled like money and lies. I was in the back, dressed as one of Genevieve's staff, a black blazer over my pounding heart. Reese was at a table with other investors. His face a calm mask. Talia was at the head table, next to Kalen, looking pale but strangely composed. She knew the plan. She was our inside woman. Kalen stood up, tapping his glass for a toast. He was charming. He was handsome. He looked like the perfect groom. To my beautiful Talia, he said, raising his glass. The room ah-ed. And to my new father, Mr. Volkov. Thank you for welcoming me into your family, and for trusting me with your company's future. Mr. Volkov, Talia's father, beamed at him. Felt sick. Kalin smiled. And now I have a little surprise. A video of our romantic journey. He nodded to the back of the room. Genevieve was at the A/V booth, her face serious. She gave Kalin a small, professional nod. Testing, testing, she said into the mic, and her voice echoed through the room. We are all set for the presentation. Kalin clicked the remote in his hand. His eyes on Talia. He was expecting a slideshow of their fake, smiling photos. But that's not what Genevieve had queued up. Kalin clicked the remote. The lights dimmed. The giant screens on either side of the stage lit up. But it wasn't a photo of them. It was a flowchart. A very simple, very clear flowchart. At the top, a box labeled Volkov Industries. An arrow pointed down to a box labeled Onyx Vendor, Crypto. From that box, a thick arrow pointed to a box labeled Kalin's offshore account. A collective gasp filled the ballroom. People were murmuring, pointing. Kalin's smile froze. He clicked the remote again, frantically, but nothing changed. The flowchart stayed on the screen. What is this? Mr. Volkov said, standing up. What is the meaning of this? Kalin was white as a ghost. It's a mistake. A technical problem, he stammered. It's no mistake, a voice said. A second spotlight hit a podium on the other side of the stage. Reese stood there, a microphone in his hand. Good evening, everyone. My name is Reese. And I am Kalin's former business partner. I am the true creator of the Atlas algorithm. And I'm here to talk about what's really been happening at Volkov Industries. Kalin lunged for the A/V booth, screaming, "Shut it down! Shut it down now!" But two very large security guards, hired by Genevieve, stepped in front of him, blocking his path. For the last 2 years, Reese's voice boomed through the ballroom, Kalin has been using my stolen technology to promise you a future he can't deliver. He laid out the entire fraud step by step. He showed the original code. He showed the dates. The investors were on their feet, shouting. Mr. Volkov looked like he was going to be sick. He's lying. Kalin screamed, struggling against the guards. He's a bitter, failed programmer. Am I? Reese asked. Genevieve. If you would. Genevieve hit another button. And my audio file played. The entire crystal-clear file, over the ballroom's $1 million sound system. Kalin's voice filled the room. Talia's a necessity, Zahra. Bridge. Her father's company needs me. This wedding. It's just a signature. You're the one I love. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Every eye was on Kalin. His face had crumpled. He was trapped. Then Mr. Volkov turned. But he didn't look at Kalin. He looked at his daughter, Talia. His face was purple with rage. Talia, he demanded, his voice shaking. You knew about this. You knew he was using us. I hadn't planned for that. He was blaming her. Talia stood up, her whole body trembling. She looked at her furious father, and then at Kalin, who was watching her with pure hatred in his eyes. This was the moment. She could either break or she could fight. She walked to the microphone at the head table. Yes, she said, her voice small but clear. I did know. I knew he was a liar. You. Her father choked out. I knew, Talia continued, her voice getting stronger, because he was blackmailing me. Kalin screamed. She's unstable. She's crazy. She was in a mental hospital in Zurich. She's not fit to run anything. The room erupted in gasps. Talia didn't flinch. Yes, she said, looking straight at the investors. I was in a clinic for exhaustion and anxiety. Because the pressure in this world is too much. And here, she pulled a file from under the table, are my medical records, which Kalin stole and edited to make me look unstable. She threw them on the table. And here, she held up a second much thicker file. is the original report. Along with this report, from a forensic accountant I hired 3 weeks ago. She looked at Kaylin. He didn't just steal from Reese. He's stolen $4 million from my father. And I have the receipts. Reached the exit, a hand grabbed my arm. It was Corinne, Talia's mother. Her face, usually so perfect, was a mask of ugly, twisted rage. You, she hissed, her voice low and full of poison. You did this. Pulled my arm away. I did what? I exposed a criminal. He was stealing from your husband. He was blackmailing your daughter. We could have handled it, she spat. Quietly. After the merger. This was business. But you, with your hurt little feelings and your audio files, you had to air our dirty laundry in public. You've ruined everything. My blood ran cold. I realized in that horrible moment that she had known. Maybe not all of it, but she had known. She had known Kaylin was a liar. She had known her daughter was being blackmailed. And she was willing to let her daughter be sacrificed. All to secure the merger and protect the family's reputation. Kaylin wasn't the only monster in that family. He had just found allies. She gave me one last look of pure hatred. I hope you're happy, Zahra. You've destroyed my family. She then turned, smoothed her dress, and walked back into the chaos, her head held high. The next morning I woke up exhausted, my body aching like I'd run a marathon. The adrenaline was gone, leaving only a hollow, empty feeling. My phone was full of news alerts about the scandal. Then an email popped up. It was from Genevieve St. Clair. The subject was, "Final invoice." My heart sank. Of course, she was a professional, and I had been part of a plan that had just cost her $1 million wedding. I didn't have money to pay a planner like her. I was terrified to even open it. Clicked the email. It was an invoice, just as she'd said. I scrolled down past the line items for consultation, security, and A/V services. I braced myself for a number that would ruin me. And then I saw it. The total amount due, $0. I stared at it, confused. At the bottom of the invoice was a short, simple note. Ms. Evans, my contract was with Talia Volkov, who I am now assisting with her annulment and the subsequent divorce proceedings. She is a client for life. As for Mr. Kaylin, my real invoice, along with a copy of your file and the Onyx account data, has been delivered to the district attorney's office. Well done. I let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Genevieve St. Clair wasn't just a planner. She was a warrior. A week later I met Reese for coffee. The news was everywhere. Kaylin had been arrested at the airport, trying to flee the country. Mr. Volkov had publicly thanked Reese for his brave whistleblowing, and was now under investigation himself for his company's creative accounting. We won, Reese said, stirring his coffee. He looked peaceful. For the first time since I'd met him. We really did, I said, sipping my tea. Thank you for finding me. I couldn't have done it without you. We couldn't have done it without you, he said. He slid a cashier's check across the table. It was made out to me. What is this? Asked, looking at the number. It was a lot of money. More money than I had ever seen in my life. From Volkov, Reese explained. A consulting fee for discovering the fraud. He's trying to clean up his image. He gave me one too. Half is yours. You deserve it. I stared at the check. I thought about my tiny apartment, my overdue car payment. This money would change my life. I pushed the check back across the table. I don't want his money, I said, my voice clear. I didn't do this for money. Reese looked surprised. But, I said, a small smile playing on my lips. You're starting your company again, right? The real Atlas algorithm. You're gonna need a lead strategist. Someone who knows how to handle a crisis. Reese smiled, a real warm smile. I'm available, I finished. When do I start? I was packing up my tiny apartment, getting ready to move. My new job as chief of strategy at Reese's new company, Atlas Unbound, came with a much better salary. I was taping up the last box when there was a knock on my door. Opened it. It was Talia. We just stood there for a minute, the silence stretching between us. It was a year of betrayal and hurt, all standing in a narrow hallway. "I know sorry is meaningless, Zahra," she said finally, her voice quiet. "I was a coward. I was so scared. Of him, of my mother, of failing. I let him hurt you. I used you at the shower. I'm so sorry." I looked at her, really looked at her. The old popular perfect Talia was gone. In her place was a woman who looked tired but real. "I'm sorry too," I said. "That I didn't see you were in trouble." She gave me a weak smile. "We were both in trouble." We were quiet again. I'm glad you're safe, Talia. "That's why I'm here," she said, her smile fading. Her eyes suddenly looked scared again. "Zahra, you need to be careful. He's not done." "What do you mean?" "He's in jail." "No," she said, shaking her head. "He's not. He made bail. His family posted it this morning. They have more money than we thought. And the first person he asked about." "It wasn't me. It was you." My blood turned to ice. He was out. For the next 2 days I was a nervous wreck. I double-checked the locks on my doors. I didn't go out after dark. I told Reese, who hired a security guard to sit outside my apartment. I felt like I was being haunted. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. My heart stopped. It was a photo. A photo of me, sleeping in my old apartment. It was taken from the foot of my bed. Photo I had never seen, never taken. My whole body went cold. I couldn't breathe. Below the photo was a message. "The audio was cute, Zahra. A good first draft. But I have the master files. Have everything. Have all the tapes. And you're all alone now. You thought you were so smart. You're not. You're just a girl who's about to lose everything." I dropped the phone as if it were on fire. This wasn't about fraud anymore. This wasn't about money. This was personal. This was a threat. He hadn't just recorded our conversations. He had been watching me. The feeling of being violated was so strong, I had to run to the bathroom to be sick. I called Talia and Reese immediately, my voice frantic. I sent them the picture. Talia's gasp was so loud, I heard it through the phone. "Oh, Zahra. Oh my God." "What?" cried. "What is it?" That's from the lake house weekend," she whispered, her voice full of dawning horror. "Remember that trip we all took? Before everything." I did remember. It was the last good weekend we'd had. "Kaylin was testing his new smart home security system," Talia said, her voice shaking. "He said he was putting cameras up. For security. We thought he meant outside. Zahra. He had cameras inside the house." The phone slipped from my hand. He had footage. Not just of me sleeping. But of everything. Intimate moments. Private conversations. He had illegal surveillance footage. He had been watching both of us. The blackmail he used on Talia was just the beginning. He had a whole vault of secrets. And now he was desperate. He had nothing left to lose, which meant he was the most dangerous man in the world. He was ready to burn everything down, and he was going to start with me. For a moment I wanted to run. I wanted to pack a bag, change my name, and disappear. The old Zahra would have. But I wasn't the old Zahra. I was the woman who had taken him down in front of 100 people. I was the woman who had built a new life. I would not let him take this from me. "No," I said, picking up the phone. "We're not running. We're finishing this." We went to the police. Not the corporate fraud division, but the real police. We showed the detective the photo, the text message. We told him about the lake house. The detective was grim. "This is felony-level extortion and illegal surveillance," he said. "But his text is a threat, not a confession. We need him to admit he has the files and that he intends to use them as blackmail. We need a sting." Talia and Reese both looked at me, their faces pale. "I'll do it," I said, my voice solid steel. "I'll meet him. I'll get him to confess." The fear was still there, a cold knot in my stomach. But sitting on top of it was a cold, hard rage. He thought I was alone. He thought I was weak. He was about to find out just how wrong he was. The plan was set. I agreed to meet Kaylin at a public plaza, a busy cafe with lots of people. I was wearing a wire. 2 detectives were sitting at the next table, pretending to be on a lunch date. My hands were shaking, but I kept them clasped in my lap. Kaylin sat down across from me. He looked terrible. His eyes were bloodshot, but he still had that arrogant, smug look on his face. "Change your mind," he sneered. "Finally ready to be smart. What do you want, Kaylin?" I asked, my voice and the wire catching every word. "It's simple," he said, leaning in. "You're going to sign an affidavit. A legal document. It will say that Reese's algorithm was my idea, that he's a liar, and that your audio file was faked. And if I don't?" asked, my heart pounding. He smiled, a slow, evil smile. "Then the lake house footage goes public. All of it. The videos of you. The videos of Talia. It all goes to the press. To your new boss. To your mother. You do this and the videos stay private. Your choice. You'd release that," I whispered, letting my voice shake. "Just to save yourself." He laughed. "I have nothing left to lose, Zahra. I will burn you and Talia to the ground just to watch you suffer." "Thank you, Kaylin," I said, my voice suddenly clear and strong. I stood up. "That's a full confession." His smile vanished. His eyes darted around, confused. The 2 detectives at the next table stood up with me, flipping open their badges. "Kaylin," one of them said, "you're under arrest for extortion, blackmail, and illegal surveillance." His face. It just imploded. The arrogance, the anger, the smugness. It all vanished, leaving only a pathetic, terrified shell. He finally knew what it felt like to lose. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of my new office, looking out over the city. Kaylin was in prison. He had been convicted on multiple counts, and with the evidence from the sting, he wasn't getting out for a very long time. Corinne, Talia's mother, was facing her own legal troubles for her role in the fraud. Reese's company, Atlas Unbound, with me as its chief operating officer, had just launched the real Atlas algorithm. Our first and biggest client, Volkov Industries, now being run by its new CEO, Talia Volkov. She was cleaning house, starting with her own family. My phone pinged. It was an email from Genevieve, the planner. The subject: "Save the date." Opened it. FYI. Just booked the official Volkov Atlas merger celebration party. It's not a wedding, thank God. Talia is officiating. You're on the guest list. P.S. Never stop fighting. I smiled and put my phone away. I walked down to the cafe on the first floor. Talia was waiting for me, 2 coffees in her hand. It wasn't awkward anymore. It was real. We had been through a war together. We weren't the girls we used to be. We were survivors. To new chapters. Talia asked, raising her mug. I raised mine. To writing our own. If my story has taught you anything, let it be this. Never let anyone make you feel small. Never let anyone tell you to be quiet. Your voice is your power. The truth is your weapon. And sometimes the most important "I do" is the one you say to yourself. Thank you for listening.